Initially, I met him through my cousin. I had recently moved to Texas as I was going through a divorce, and he was going to show me around town. So we started dating, and one thing led to another, and eventually we were living together. He did have an abusive childhood, and he would often make comments such as, I would never hit a woman, a man that hits a woman is a coward, things of that nature, as he retold the stories to me. Domestic violence was the farthest thing from my mind when I first met him.
Okay, the relationship initially was great, and I very much thought I found like the perfect person. He was tall and handsome, and he represented everything the relationship I had just gotten out of wasn't. And he was fun, and he gave me lots of attention, and it was really intense, and the intensity excited me. So he was a gentleman, and he was very loving and protective of me.
My relationship initially was very like a roller coaster, I should say, to better describe it. And the reason why I said it is because I was initially dating someone who was a sibling of my rapist. And so in the beginning stages of our relationship, it was very nice. He was very nice to me, very cordial, very respectful. We had ideas of, staying together forever, and I really thought of him to be someone that I could trust, that understood me. And even though there was a significant age gap, I at the time was 15 and a half, and he was like 24. I just felt as though it didn't matter because he was there for me. He was my support system. He was my resource. He was more or less my everything.
At the beginning, it was good. No problems at all. I fell in love with this person, not knowing who he was.
Some of the main warning signs were the verbal abuse, the verbal attacks, the non-physical situations, the way that he would treat me around his family, how his demeanor changed in public versus when we were at home. They were all warning signs to something that was building up, which is what I now know as a cycle of violence. He would explode at restaurants to where managers would come out, and I had one manager who passed me a note and asked me, as if it was the bill, and asked me if he needed me to call 911. He embarrassed me in front of his family because he says he felt like less of a man because of our financial situation. So those were all signs that this was not going to end well. And there's always that gut feeling that a lot of us try to dim the light on, quiet down. But if we listen to our gut feelings, usually it'll lead us in the right direction.
One warning sign of dating violence are mood swings. For example, if your partner, sometimes in public they'll be really nice. When other people are watching, they'll be nice. But as soon as you guys get in public, or they think no one is watching, they'll be really cruel and really mean. It's a classic example of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation, and it's one of the signs you really have to look out for.
The biggest warning sign of dating violence would be jealousy, and more than just I'm jealous that someone's flirting with my partner, but that I'm jealous when my partner is hanging out with their friends, when they're hanging out with their family, really when my partner just isn't with me.
If your partner is abusive to either objects or someone else, it is a sign that they could potentially be violent towards you later in the future.
Possessiveness, which is where one partner feels like they own the other person, that they're an object for them to control. So they want to know where they're going, who they're spending time with. Sometimes it can even be as bad as what they dress like and what they just spend their day doing. One of the things that we can see with possessiveness is like hickeys, because it's kind of marking their territory, so everyone knows that they belong to someone and that they shouldn't be messed with. Also, like when they're together 24/7, you see that like they don't get to spend time with other people because they belong to their partner and they're supposed to be with their partner as much as possible.
One of the warning signs that I've seen a lot as an advocate of domestic violence is kind of pushing the boundaries. So an example of this emotionally is asking kind of inappropriate questions for somebody that you don't really know. And then physically it could be like wanting to touch somebody inappropriately before they're ready to. And I mean, as a victim, you can kind of just say, you know, I'm not really ready for that. And if they still kind of keep going with that, then you kind of know that that could be a warning sign of a potential abuser.
One sign that somebody could be abusive is when people are warning you about them, and especially when someone has had a restraining order against them.
One warning sign that someone might be abusive is that they're invading private space. This could be going through your emails, going through your social media without permission, or going through your cell phone.
Some warning signs that my friend was in an abusive relationship was that she would constantly be isolated by her boyfriend, as well as he was very manipulative and he wouldn't let her do certain things, and so he would control her in certain ways. One story that I think back to is when she very first started dating her boyfriend, and she would call me and say, oh, this person bought everything for me, they're a great guy. And then you fast forward years later and the same person's calling me saying, you know, I just had a miscarriage, he tried to kill me, I'm scared. And so looking back, I don't think my friend really got to know him. There was not enough time for that.